come on. When I was a little boy, my daddy took me on a court and cut a racket handle short and told me you should learn a sport. In the suburb of Milan, he put a racket in my hand and we started hitting squash balls. Well, I knew from early on that I'd be good. I was blessed by the gods because we had some courts at school. I would always find a way every minute of the day. You could never ever get me off the squash court. Yeah, I never got a chance to get a girlfriend, spending every second, every minute that I could spend hitting balls against the wall and moving smooth across the floor. Just try and get me off the squash court. Well, in the end I started rising up the rankings. Tournament to tournament was physically demanding. Anyone who knows me decorated trophies. God, I made a home inside a squash court. Yeah, squash is my addiction, satisfaction guaranteed. When I stop, you won't hit my backhand drop shot back to me. Yeah, squash is my addiction, I take it intravenously. That's right, and it flows right through my bones, just like my papa said to me. Yeah, come on. Forehand, backhand, hit me with your bang bang. Feather in my hand is an extension of my arm, man. Every single shot has got you dancing to the hip hop. Take the ball and short, and I'll put in a cheeky drop shot. Hot shot, I pick it up non-stop. Addicted, I can't stop. Embedded in the hip hop, I get onto my trick shot. Controlling the T-zone, I don't need no reason. Gotta get myself in shape before the start of the season. The perfect length was my strength, y'all. Into attack from defense was my way, yo. I won with the ball, it's like a sixth sense, y'all. Listen to me, cause I'm starting to make sense, y'all. I deploy you, give a racket to me. We could have a game of singles, you'll be down on your knees. I can show you how to get yourself back onto the tee. So let me take you on a squash court. Squash is my addiction, satisfaction guaranteed. When I stop, you won't hit my backhand drop shot back to me. Yeah, squash is my addiction, I take it intravenously. And it flows right through my bones, just like my papa said to me. Yeah.
Okay, so up or down to serve?
Hello and welcome again, back around the mics today with obviously my astute co-host Bevan, but we are joined today with two fantastic guys, both of them very close to my heart. So let me welcome them in. Richard Plenty, how are you, mate?
Good, mate.
Yeah, and Richard Murph.
Thank you very much for that magnificent introduction.
Well, what can I say, mate? So, welcome to the show, guys. Thank you so much for joining us. Today is all going to be about squash at grassroots level. You guys both coaches at Rhiwbina Squash Club, aren't you?
Yep, I am.
That's correct, yes.
Yeah.
I also do coaching at Rhiwbina, yes.
Awesome. Richard, mate, I've mentioned you a few times on the...
Which one?
Oh, yeah, of course, yeah. Oh, no. So let's call it Richard P. Yeah, so Richard P. I've mentioned you a few times on the show now, Rich. Obviously,
it's getting boring though, isn't it?
Yeah, I know, but for me, man, it's a big deal getting you on the show because we've had a bit of an epic journey between us, haven't we? Especially from my point of view.
Just a little bit.
So I want to talk a little bit more about disability squash, and that's why I'm kind of aiming it with you first, because I know, but Richard Murph, hang on, I'm going to get confused because I'm bad enough.
Rich P.
P to the M.
Yeah,
P to the M.
I know. Have you ever heard me mix up names before? This is
No.
to have two people. I know,
Never.
and all Bevan does is just take the mickey out of me, and then he throws in loads of stuff to just confuse me. So, Mr. P, yeah, bro. Your journey with us. I want to talk a little bit about disability squash and disability squash at the club, because obviously it's had a massive impact at the club. How did it all come about? Tell us a little bit about that.
Story is, my daughter's got learning difficulties, and it was a bit of a light bulb moment after her first year in Bridgend College at Western House, and I just thought it would be a great idea to get the kids up there from Bridgend and give it a go. Contacted the college, and they thought it was a good idea, and it's gone on from there. I couldn't have done it without Bob Perry or Dave Rees or my son, really, because at the time we needed 4 coaches, and from then it's just grown and grown and grown.
So, Richard M. Murph, you're the club chairman?
I am.
So when, I'm assuming then, you went to the committee and said, guys, I've got a great idea. Is that how it worked?
Well, I was on the committee at the time, so...
Well, that made it a bit easier.
Yeah, but without the committee's help and support, and they have supported us from day one, we couldn't have done it. No way could we have done what we've done.
So what about, like, how did it go with as far as, like, funding? I mean, so if I'm a club, okay, so I'm a club, I've got a team, and I'm thinking, well, this is a good idea, this is a promotion, you know, how am I going to do this? Where do I start?
Well, can I say first of all that we were sort of positively press-ganged into this by Rich when he brought Bridgend College down, but it gave us a bit of a light bulb moment really, because we thought, I think Rich, you were coming down originally like once a month, and the college wanted more, and we envisaged that there would be more people wanting facilities to be able to play disabled squash. So that was, again, a light bulb moment for us, where we contacted Sport Wales and said, look, this is what we'd like to do. We'd like to increase the number of people playing disabled squash. We haven't got the facilities for it. And that tied in with a bigger vision of literally looking to increase the numbers that we had at the time, which were around about 96 members. The club was going downhill, with the greatest respect, in terms of numbers and the facilities there, because they'd been there for 30, 40 years. And that prompted the committee to do a business case, really, to look at funding and the wider prospects of change within Rhiwbina Squash Club to include this fantastic disability squash program. So that's where it really started.
Wow, I didn't know that.
No, so when was this then, Rich?
This was about 4 years ago, and as I
4 years.
said, Rich was on the committee. So once we had this idea and this vision, really, and to be honest, it wasn't shared with everybody within the club. People don't like change. There was people within the RRC who didn't like change. There were people on our own committee who didn't want this project. Let's make no bones about it. But we contacted Sport Wales. They came up 4 times. Kerry Richard, the Sport Wales officer, and 4 times he came up. The weather was fantastic in the summer. Everybody was playing bowls, tennis, etc. And he said this is a little bit of a jewel in North Cardiff, which we didn't really knew existed. And from there, we developed a business case. We built it around the disability squash program. And from there the funding element took place. We were successful in getting a £20,000 development grant, and added to that we had a private finance injection from a club member, which was amazing. Our own club funds and member loans then enabled us to get us the 114,000, which made the club it is today. So that's how it actually happened in a nutshell. But it was the disability program and the vision of the committee and the club to grow that has made Rhiwbina what it is today.
Wow.
That's incredible.
Yeah, that's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah, so basically, obviously, Rhiwbina have now had the 4th court, the 2 glass backs. Of course, yeah, okay, now it's starting to make sense, because the 3rd court is obviously wider to allow wheelchairs on. I know, I've used it myself. And it's actually where I started. So, can I say squash career? Is that a good? Should I say that?
Well,
sounds really cool.
Someone who's as cocky as you, well, yeah.
Yeah. So, number 1 in the world, mate. So I guess I started my squash career, if you like, as part of that program.
Can I say that the court 3, the knocking of the back wall down, wasn't in the original plans? And
right.
The one person who was perhaps instrumental in knocking that back wall down was my colleague to my right,
Richard,
who discutted the back wall down. And let me tell you a very quick story about it. I contacted Bob Perry and a few others, and I said, can you give me a hand on Saturday morning to knock the wall of court 3 down? I said, we'll be finished by lunchtime. 2 days later, with a reinforced concrete steel bar, 1,000 steel bars in it, we eventually knocked it down. And that's what it took to knock the back wall of court 3 down. And Richard was on the disc cutter. He nearly killed himself in doing it. What an effort to knock the wall of court 3 down. It was
and a couple of players have been trying to knock the glass wall down ever since. Me included, when I ran into it once.
Yeah.
So, okay, so that's kind of knocked me back a little bit, because that wasn't what I expected. I mean, I didn't really know the history of Rhiwbina. I mean, I've only ever really played there, besides when I've been on tour and stuff. But I didn't know the history of that, and I'm quite. It's kind of made me feel quite proud, actually, to say, well, that's where I started. Do you know what I mean? So, and well, I'm quite proud of Rhiwbina anyway. I'm proud of the club, but
you promote this as much as possible. So
yeah, I do. Yeah. Usually because I'm doing something stupid or crazy, and everyone goes, check this guy out, as I wheel into a squash tournament and then put my legs on and then jump up onto court and start knocking a ball around. So, Rich, I'm going to ask you a question that is completely. It may be a left wing, but sorry, Richard Plenty, yeah. I came along, right, and I started playing squash in a wheelchair. So it was myself and another guy called Steve McGrath, and obviously I've carried that on, yeah. So I've kind of moved forward. So and you've taken me under your wing as a player, as a coach, as a friend, as a mentor. Something that's always meant a great deal to me. But what does it mean to you when you see someone like myself? You've got a program. It's changed the fundamental look of a club. It's the journey through that club has been exceptional. I think it's quite safe to say.
Absolutely.
And then you've got a guy. I was going to say young lad. Then I'm not young anymore. I forget I'm not young anymore. Then you've got this guy who came along one day, played squash in a wheelchair. Thought, I love this. And then recently we went on tour together. And played in the European Open Masters in Slovenia. How does that make you feel as a coach?
Amazing, really. I just think it's amazing your dedication to it. And it's nothing. I know. Perhaps you wouldn't have got there if I hadn't have been there. It might have been somebody else. But it's your dedication to the sport, not mine. If you don't turn up, I've got no one to coach or to push forward.
Yeah, I never thought of it like that. So it's all me then.
Legend.
To be fair, it usually is about you.
Can I tell you a very quick story just for our viewers? I won the Welsh European Masters Open event last year. No great shakes, but
You've just been out trumped.
I have. I've been out trumped.
Yeah, not quite.
Yeah.
Because in
But
the
on
write-up
crutches.
across the world in squash magazines, there was no mention of Richard Murphy winning the Masters European. It was all about Jamie McGann. McGann show.
Wow.
And,
Do you know what? Actually, I remember that story
because I showed you, didn't I?
Yeah.
It's testament really to what you've done, Jamie. Really, and and Rhiwbina's been a big part of that, and I think it's absolutely fantastic.
And it's funny because a lot of things have come off this. I mean, not only that club and what it meant to me as a person, but also them coming on and actually doing the show. And what we're trying to do, myself and Bevan, is trying to move that package to almost like franchise what you guys have done at the club and bring it into other clubs. So besides that, I mean, Bevan, jump in on this a minute. What were you telling me earlier about funding?
So as of today, Sport Wales, Rich, you might be aware of this, they've just released a tranche of money that is available for sporting communities in Wales. It's a fund called A Place for Sport Fund, which Daffod Ellis, the Minister of Sport and Culture, has made available £1 million. So clubs in Wales, all squash clubs, should be aware of the fact that if they try and emulate what Rhiwbina have done through, what was it, the Development Fund?
Development grant.
Yeah, you got over 100.
We got 20,000.
20,000
The maximum is 25.
25, yeah.
Very few get that, but we were very happy with 20,000.
And the lesser award is what, a community fund or
This
a
is a community chest fund,
community
which
chest
Rhiwbina's
fund.
benefited
Also as well.
from many
You
times.
So-
get up to £1,500 from a community chest
Really?
for sports
for
equipment.
Is
small
that
stuff.
how you funded the 2 wheelchairs?
Funded the 2 wheelchairs, funded quite a few coaching courses, and we have to say community chess is fantastic. We wouldn't be where we are now without it.
Yeah.
So how many clubs do you reckon Riches, the P to the G? Is it the P to the G?
No.
No?
PMs.
The P, yeah?
Oh God, we've got PMs on.
Yeah. Well,
Oh, let's not talk about Brexit, guys.
So how many clubs do you reckon in Wales are aware and are taking advantage of applying to funds like this?
I would think probably not many would be aware of it. I think it needs to be made, people and squash clubs need to be made more aware of it. I think the sad fact about squash itself is it's decreasing in leisure centres purely because of the lack of use and the more economic viability of putting gyms in squash courts.
Yeah.
Ultimately, that was part of our business case to develop. Why were we back in the trend building a court when other leisure centres, were closing them? I think it's quite sad actually that it's basically left to private clubs to pick up the mantle from this. But I think that.
So it's the private clubs then that really need to be taken advantage.
I think so, and I think.
How many of them do you reckon there are? If there's around about 200-300 courts or whatever. In Wales, how many?
257, I think.
And it's diminishing all the time.
How many private clubs are you aware of, roughly?
I don't know off the top of my head. Squash Wales would be able to say, but I would, at a pure guess, I would even say there's probably about 10 to 15. There's not that many private squash clubs in Wales, so the days of the halcyon days of the leisure centre, are sadly diminishing, and it's not right, in my personal opinion. So if any funding could be got by squash clubs in leisure centres, then I think it would be absolutely brilliant.
And the funny thing about it was Monmouth have recently, I don't know if everyone knows about Monmouth Leisure Centre, they've recently just done like this massive new development on the site. I think it was in 15 million, I believe. And they've actually got 2 courts there, which this brand new facility, they've actually, I'm not sure if they built it or they built the facility around the 2 courts, something like that, like when they've done the refurb.
Had 2 courts.
Yeah, so they've either done them like a massive refurb then, I'm assuming, and then they've got these 2 courts in there. Rather than knocking them down during the refurb, they kept them. But I'll tell you what else they've got that's really interesting. Have you ever played in Monmouth? You might have.
Yes.
Yeah.
Many.
Both of you. Have you seen the wall that moves, turns it into a doubles court?
Yeah.
I think that's awesome. Just absolutely phenomenal. We need to get that. I think Rhiwbina need a double court.
Well, I think Wales Wales needs a glass court first, and a doubles court second. And I think that's a dream and a vision for squash in Wales is an all glass court, some way.
Wow, yeah, that'd be awesome. And then maybe the interaction wall, because we had Marcus Cairn on recently talking about the interaction wall. Maybe we could get funding and have an interaction wall at Rhiwbina Squash Club.
We have looked at it.
Have you really?
Yes,
So what are your thoughts
awesome.
on it? Because obviously a lot of people get a bit confused by it. It's quite confusing.
We did get
we
had costings from someone within the club back last year, I think.
Was that Oliver
Yes,
Griffiths?
Oliver
Yeah.
Griffiths. Oliver Griffiths looked at it. It was quite heavy. It was quite.
About 30k.
Yeah, 30,000, which is a lot of money in terms of what else you could do with that money. Potentially, obviously, we've looked at a health and well-being unit. We like potentially, to maybe even look at a 5th court.
I said put in for a 5th court, didn't I?
There's just enough room. We have the membership for it. We have an increasing membership, and ideally, I think it's something we'd like to look at. But we are part of an RRC, Rhiwbina Recreation Club, so we'll have to see where that takes us.
Ah, awesome. So, bringing us nicely onto the junior side of it, because I know that Richard P, I know you're massively involved with the juniors. Richard Murph, you're also quite deeply involved with the juniors as well, though, aren't you?
Not quite so much. I do more adult coaching.
Okay.
So
it's on to you then, Mr. P. Tell us a little bit about your involvement with the juniors, and because I know you work right at the young, don't you?
I've been going over to Rhiwbina on a Sunday morning from 9 o'clock till 12 o'clock for about the last 12 years, coaching juniors. And I'm now doing the very younger ones from 3-year-old upwards to about 8 or 9.
Wow.
Then pass them over to somebody else and go and have a lie down.
Well said, mate.
Yeah. I got to admit, mate, working with that many, how many youngsters do you get there?
It varies. You get between 3 and 8.
Eight youngsters
at that age.
At that age group.
Yeah.
In a relatively small space, all at the same time.
It can be very loud on times.
I'm just wondering why you're grey.
Great.
That's awesome. And so
I
what?
don't do it on my own.
No, because who's involved with it with you? I know.
Bob Perry's just stopped doing it.
Yeah,
which is going to be a big loss for the club.
Yeah.
I've got Ellen Brown, who's come on board. She's just started doing it for the last couple of months, and she's excellent.
Yeah.
She's a very young lady, and she's absolutely superb at it. A very good coach.
Is Judy Wright involved as well?
Judy Wright comes on a disability on a Monday.
On a Monday,
she
that
used
was
to be
it, yeah.
involved on a Sunday, but she no longer comes. So she's just involved in disability on a Monday night now.
Brilliant. So how many coaches have you got involved with that?
Disability?
Yeah.
At the moment, there's 3 of us.
So 3 of you doing
three
that.
and Laura.
So it's all volunteer based, obviously.
Oh, we take a fortune out of it, I think. I think on times it might be enough to buy a pint between us and 4 straws.
4 straws. Paper straws.
Paper
Because
straws,
obviously we
yeah.
believe in the environment
Yeah.
here on the Squash Pod.
What?
That big round thing that we all live on.
Yeah.
Mate, what got you into it? You do a lot for the club. Like, as a member, obviously a lot of this is voluntary as a coach. Why?
Coaching wise, I was on the committee and my boys started playing squash, coming down on coaching for Sunday mornings, and basically I got gang pressed into going being a coach.
By Richard Murph? Or?
No.
Oh, no.
Because you don't want to do it anymore.
Nothing to do with it.
A former chairman called Paul Food, and he said, "You come over Sunday mornings, you may as well be a coach. Get on court." And I didn't have a lot of choice in the matter, and then I thought I actually enjoy doing this, so I carried on.
It is quite rewarding. I mean, I've done stuff similar myself, and it's brilliant, and you're making an impact as well, aren't you?
Yeah.
Like, do you know what I mean? You're following people through their journeys as well. Sometimes I'm sure that's quite heartwarming as well at times.
I just like to see anybody playing squash. There shouldn't be any boundaries from disability to normal people. If it was normal, what's normal?
I'm not normal.
We know. Nothing to do with your disability.
Do you know what, right? Before I ruptured my spine, no one ever actually called me normal. But it's all good. It's all good. Mate, where do we go from here? Like, I just think that the sport need more people like you, Rich. Both of you. But Richard P, obviously I'm talking to you because you've followed me through my journey. Richard M, chairman. You've won a lot of competitions. You've got a good career of squash behind you.
Can I just say, Jay?
Yeah.
Some people were a bit confused about which Richard Murphy we were actually getting on the show.
Really?
Have you ever heard of Pink Floyd, mate?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't lived under a rock.
Lead singer.
That is me.
Yeah.
Also.
I've got a guitar next to you there, mate.
All in all, it's just another brick in the wall.
Better with a guitar. Better with a guitar in his hand than a squash racket, right? Didn't you want to kind of touch on what you brought Rich into the game?
Yeah.
And what he loves about the game?
Yeah, I want to, yeah.
Oh gosh, that's.
First off, how long have you been playing?
You started a bit later,
I
didn't
did
you?
start late, yeah, but I played sport ever since I can remember. I don't know what it is because my dad died when I was very young, so I didn't have that influence. My mum never played sports. We came from a small village, but I can remember getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning to listen to Test Match Special on a crackly radio, listen to boxing, and I was pretty thin then, and I was pretty quick. And that's all. I just loved running, and that's the basis of my whole life really. Is as most players who I play squash against will tell you, I can run a bit. I'm not anything of a squash player, but I can do a little bit of running. So my whole life has been spent running, whether or not it's athletics, rugby, football, cricket, tennis, anything. I've loved sport my whole career. And I started playing squash at a late age when I was about 19 really, and just loved the physical one-to-one element.
Sorry, stop this show. 19 at a late age. Is that considered as a late age?
It's just to begin, yes, because there was no
I was 35.
To get to his level, it is.
Oh, right,
Rich
okay.
just plays
you're missing out on a whole
Yeah.
junior career. You're ancient at 19 these days. So, yeah, you don't get to play any junior squash. So I picked a squash racket up, if you like, at 19. I had a little bit of coaching, and then, started to take it serious from there on, around about 23, 24. Just enjoy playing. I love the one-to-one. you know, and how hard it is as well. You know, the better you get at squash, the harder it gets because the rallies go on longer. And you know, sometimes
I wish I could say I know what you're talking about.
So that's what I like about it. And then obviously I got into coaching when I had children. I used to, you know, coach my children. My young daughter Fiona went on to a very high level. She won the British Championship.
Wow.
And went on to scholarships in Millfield and an American college, which I'm hugely proud of. And she's done brilliantly. And my son now, Tom, is thinking of rejoining Rhiwbina. You know, he's a fantastic little sportsman himself. Well, not little, he's 6'2". But, you know, all of it, playing, watching and coaching squash, I've loved every minute of it.
So, but what, you're obviously a natural sportsman, like a lot of great squash players are, but what is it specifically about squash that's gripped you over such a long period of time for you to discard all those other abilities?
That's a good question. I think it's a combination of just, as I said, how hard it is. It's the one-to-one physical element, but I think there's a big social side to squash as well. I mean, the home international series that I've played in like 20 home international series. You get such good camaraderie going away and with your teammates playing for Rhiwbina. You know, I can't wait for a Thursday to play a team match or a friendly. They mean the same to me. I just look forward to it and I do a little bit of training, even, you know, I'm knocking on a little bit now.
What age group are you in now then?
Over 55.
Over 55.
I know.
I watched a YouTube video the other day of you playing a guy called something Hales.
Gary Hales.
Yes. And you absolutely bossed him.
Oh, he's good for now I can, but in the early days he used to hand me out a fair hammering.
Are you listening to this, Mr. P?
Yeah, he's my age group in the Masters.
God, imagine coming up against Mr. M there in the Slovenia Masters.
I'd just take him out for a drink the night before.
We'll have to have a game one day, mate.
Indeed.
I mean, I lose all the time, so it's just be nice to lose to someone else.
Yeah. But it's been great because, you know, where I've come up and played some of the great players in Welsh squash. Adrian Davis, I know Dave Evans you had on the other day and he mentioned Adrian Davis, Cerrig Jones.
Yeah.
These were great players. Alex Goff, Andrew Evans, you know, at his peak, fantastic players. And I've played all of those and tried to compete against them, you know, unsuccessfully because they are far better players than me, world-class players we've had in Wales. But I've loved every second of it, even when I've taken a hammering from them, because then I can go on against someone who I can beat and give them a hammering.
Me.
Can I ask you another question then? Because Bevan was on location with the Welsh Wizards recently, and one of the questions he asked, we were doing a show. I think you listened to the show anyway, because obviously you listened to the show with Dave Evans. One of the questions we were asking is how technology has improved and what technology is that you use. So how has technology improved since you started playing squash? And is there any one particular piece of technology that you use that you can't do without?
Well, the rackets have already improved hugely. I mean, they were big, thick, square wooden rackets in my days with a small head, so you had less chance of hitting it. But, you know, so the rackets were really heavy. So those have improved incredibly. They're so light now and powerful. So the squash shoes have changed. You know, again, they used to be
clogs.
Like wearing a pair of pit boots. But now they're like slippers. So that's improved. I mean, the courts we've got at Rhiwbina now, again, putting a plug in, but we've got LED lighting and lovely heating. The courts are an absolute joy to play on. You know, whereas before sometimes they were a bit cold and a bit dim. So, everything's moved on, and to see the world game now on the professional level, on glass courts, outside the pyramids and in Grand Central Station, and, I think it's tremendous. The PSA Tour and Alex Goff, a Welsh guy, is just taken off. And it's, I think it's on a bit of a verge of another revolution squash worldwide. It's a scandal we're not in the Olympics, but, we are doing fantastic, without that. And I think if the Olympic Committee, could take this on, it would push squash through the roof. And I think, it is the healthiest sport in the world. You're benefiting from that, Jay, yourself. You know,
Yeah,
getting
yeah,
on
yeah.
with Mr. Plenty,
Yeah.
running you round. You know, it's a joy, you know, to be on.
That's
that
what he
board.
does. He runs me around.
10-minute lesson is plenty.
Yeah,
'Cause
pretty
you're
much.
so unfit.
Yeah, 10 minutes lesson is plenty. The other 20 minutes is taken up with resuscitation.
Doing selfie videos.
Yeah. And then checking my plug-in racket. Let's move on to you, Mr. P. So, tell me a little bit about your squash career, mate.
I wouldn't call it a career. For starters.
Okay. What would you call it?
Enjoyment.
So, squash is purely a hobby.
It is, yeah. I used to play team squash at a very, very even standard, I'd say. Well, small standard, whatever you want to call it.
You still play competitive, though, don't you? You've done masters and everything.
That's social.
Yeah.
Definitely social. It's but I do enjoy playing squash because I did my back in a couple of years ago. I don't want to force it, so I tend to play back of the court if I can, and then when I do get the odd game in, as long as my back don't hurt, I'll carry on playing.
I try very hard to get it to the back of the court.
Do you say I'll play front of the court 1-0, 2-0,
Yeah.
3-0?
Yeah.
At one point, I didn't think we'd possibly see you playing again. At one point, you were that bad with your back, weren't you?
I didn't think I'd ever walk again, now I play again.
Yeah, so amazing. You've done amazing yourself.
I started getting on court, just hitting the ball, gently coaching, and then work myself back up to about, as I say, if my back twinges, I stop playing because I never want to go to those dark days again.
I think I can probably relate quite well, actually.
It's quite funny when you're on court and complain about your knees, and Jamie said, "Well, look at me, I'm still on you. I'm moaning, am I? Get on with it."
Yeah, but in fairness, and in your defence, I am the bionic man when I go on stage. But can I just ask you a question? You may not want to answer it, but what happened to your back?
I don't want to answer.
Okay, fair enough. Let's move on. Awkward moment.
I just it went into spasm. Over a week it went into spasm, and I couldn't move.
Wow.
Ended up getting the car to get to the hospital, and basically I was almost in tears in the car. Just couldn't get comfortable anywhere.
Yeah.
And then from there, tramadol. Yes, tramadol.
I know, yeah, it's all about the drugs. Not that we promoted, but it's all about the drugs.
There's no pain in the back anymore, but keep giving me the drugs.
Yeah. Well, that's basically me. Absolutely. I want to tie that little section up, actually. I want to move on to a bit of another section. So what I want to do now is I want to tie this down, because obviously we haven't done the traditional thing that we normally do with the show, with the different sections of the show. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to tie this one up. And when we come back after the break, I want to talk a little bit about your opinions of things like the Olympics and stuff like that. So if you guys are happy with
Brexit,
that.
is it?
No Brexit, mate. Because I don't generally know much about Brexit. But yeah, so let's move on to the next section. Cheers, guys.
Oh, it's unbelievable, people. The rally is on.
Okay, so the next section, I wanted to talk a little bit.
Wait, Jay, tell everyone.
All right.
Tell
okay.
everyone why you actually stopped.
Because I didn't charge my phone and my phone was about to die, so I had to create a break in the podcast. Otherwise, we would have not had a podcast.
Sorry, couldn't resist.
Thanks for that, mate. So, Bevan taking the opportunity to embarrass me once again.
So you're going to let me get a word in now, aren't you?
Go for
this
it,
is
mate.
this
all
is
yours.
my section, yeah?
It's the Bevan show.
Yeah, well, yeah, okay. So the best part of the show, everyone. Welcome.
This is what the
See
most
how they're
people
all
tune in
laughing?
for.
Yeah, they can't wait for someone else to get involved. Right, so what I really wanted to ask...
I actually take a lot of stick from this.
What I really wanted to ask the two Riches was, from your wealth of experience building such a successful club in Rhiwbina, from both of your standpoints, what sort of challenges have you guys faced running a business, and how do you kind of overcome those, really just to kind of share some best practice for other clubs who are in a similar situation, who want to be, because you guys, Rhiwbina, what, a super club with a gold standard award from Cardiff Sports, is it? Something like that?
Yeah, we're a Cardiff Super Club, one of only 6 originally awarded. We also have the gold, silver and bronze charter, which means we are one of the best clubs in Wales.
And they're like sports development for Wales, aren't they? The Cardiff
we've also got the
Yeah.
in-sport disability event, gold, silver, bronze and ribbon, and we were the first squash club ever to get it, and the second club in Wales to get it.
Okay, so what challenges do you guys face running a club, typically?
Getting members in.
Members. So
Members
are you guys
to
but Rhiwbina now full occupancy? So presumably we weren't previously. So what were the challenges before that, and how did you guys overcome it?
Well, I think from my point of view at the time, the challenges was the culture of the club. I mean, it's it could be classed as a little bit sort of boring where you're talking about culture and organisational change, but that's what sometimes needs to go ahead. You need to have people who have a bit of a vision to take the club if that's what it's needed. That's not for everyone. You might have a club that's perfectly happy the way they are, and that's fine. But if you're looking to develop, you have to have some sort of cultural change, and people's attitudes have got to change, and you've got to have a vision and a proactive plan to go alongside that. Otherwise, basically, you haven't got a chance. Unless you've got that passion and drive from within a club, then it won't happen.
Didn't Marcus Kern say some interesting comments about squash in Wales?
He did, yes. So along them lines, there, didn't he? So Marcus was saying that I don't. Did you guys listen to the show, didn't you, with Marcus? Yeah. And he was saying that a lot of clubs, that is basically what you're saying. That is where they struggle. So they don't run it as a business. They don't have that cultural change. And I think when I was interviewing him, I was a little bit naive actually about that, because I was only using Rhiwbina as an example because it was my only example I had. But then I started looking at things like Facebook pages and websites, and we have it all. Like, we have the full shebang. We're on all the social media platforms. There's social media groups where people can interact and talk to each other and book courts and book games and move things on. When I looked into it, I think there was only actually 7 clubs in the whole of Wales that had a website and a Facebook page. 7 out of all of the effective clubs in Wales.
It took us about 15 years to get a website because we couldn't get anybody to run it.
That's the other thing. So you were mentioning it a little bit in the break about the committee is the job of a committee member, and obviously it's all voluntary and paid. So I guess is that one of the biggest problems that clubs are going to come up against?
Yeah, I think so. One of the things that we introduced, if you like, is each committee member now has a specific portfolio. So in other words, you haven't got committee members just turning up with nothing to do and then they'll turn up in another month's time, because that's doing them no good, it's doing the club no good. So what we've got at the moment in Rhiwbina is we've got a chair, vice chair, secretary and treasurer, and we've got committee members with specific portfolios, i.e. social secretary, which again has been a massive boost to Rhiwbina, having a social section. So we've got skittles, golf days, presentation evenings. We've got lots of social stuff going on. You've also got 2 people who look after the maintenance, which is Tim Delson and Adrian Creed. You also have someone who looks at all the finance. Amazing, Rob Upton look at that for us. So each person has a remit, and I think doing that way, they've got a bit of an ownership to take a section of that club forward. So that's one of the things I was really keen on, as Rich will know, when I became chair, is let's everyone have a specific interest and a specific focus so they can push the club collectively forward then.
Yeah.
And obviously, I'm there to get involved in pretty much everything really, but and it's just worked really well.
So Rich, what advice would you give a club who's thinking now, okay, we've got one club, so like Cardigan Club for example, we've got the leaking roof, they want to apply to improve that situation, and this fund is available, the development fund. What do they do? Well,
I gotta say, I think Sport Wales were fantastic with us, and all the funding I've managed to get in my career working with local authorities, of which it's been millions of pounds to be honest, is to get the funder there to see it. And sometimes the worse the facility is, the better the chance you've got of getting the funding. So get the funder there, put a business case together, put an idea, put your passion towards it, and say, look, this is what it's like now. This is where we want to go. We are going to get there. This is a bit of innovation, as we had with the disability program with us, but you can have other programs running. this is how much it's going to cost, this is how much we'll put in, this is what we want from you, and we will deliver it.
So the funder will come out and see them before an application?
Absolutely, yeah. Kerry Richardson Sport Wales was instrumental in helping us. You know, it wasn't easy to get that money. There's not much money to go around in Wales sometimes, and we had to fight hard to get that money. We had to justify it. We had to have a lot of indicators what we were going to look to deliver. And I couldn't have wished for anything better. We've absolutely delivered and knocked out of the park what we said we were going to deliver. But I'm sure other clubs could do the same in terms of increasing numbers, making the facilities better. And that's exactly what I would do, is get sport in Wales and squash Wales. Again, Mike Workman was great with us at the time. Get them involved early in your vision and see where you go with that.
Tell them what the dream is, and start a dialogue, yeah?
Absolutely. Yeah. Get a business case together, get your members on board, and tell them what you're aiming to do.
So people need to move quite quickly with this, because the applications for this new ring fence funding the applications have got to be in by the 28th of June of next month. So we're already in May.
That is short.
So they need to start the conversations with the funder quick.
Absolutely. Yeah. With any funding, I always suggest ringing them up first, because sometimes I've rung funders up and said, look, is this applicable to your criteria? And they said, no, don't bother. It saves you a lot of work then looking at something that's not even on the table in the first place.
Well, this is the criteria. The criteria is any project seeking to improve, protect or create new facilities.
Brilliant.
So that's every squash club out there, right?
Absolutely, yeah. And if anyone's got a leaking roof, then I would say that would be a bang on fund to go for.
Spot on. And same for disability, Rich.
Yeah, well, I've had a few dealings with Squash Wales, and they're very helpful in helping you actually ask for what you want. They'll guide you through every step of the way to say you shouldn't put that down because you won't get what you want because it reads differently. Because if you're like me, I'm a bit thick when it comes to writing applications out, so all the help you can get, the better. Especially with disability. Joanne Coates-McGrath has been absolutely fantastic, as well as Steve, her husband. And they've been tremendous to me, to helping me promote the disability squash, and it's all good out there.
I know I've done a couple of write-ups for the club as well. I believe that was I've done some write-ups for yourself, didn't I, Mitch? Does it help having someone, would you consider me as a success, a club success?
Absolutely. Where you're going in squash magazines, which are being circulated around the world, I would say so.
Told you I was a legend, didn't I? He doesn't believe me.
Wow, your fishing rod is huge.
But so does it help having, I didn't exist when this program was there. Yeah. Matter of fact, when you started the disability program, I was still able-bodied. So that journey from that point to here. Do you think that having a success story like that it makes it all worth it?
It's a success story in terms of Rich getting the Bridgend College along every week. To see the guys getting out and participating on the court, Rich, is just something else, wasn't it? I mean, I said that to you one of the first weeks that you got the people down.
Well, you've helped out on them, haven't you? So
it was just absolutely mind-blowing, so inspiring, tremendous to see. And when we were telling Sport Wales that what Rich was delivering, and we want to extend and enhance that to get as many people as we can. And I found a quote actually from the chairman at the time of Disability Sport Wales, is we want to see people rocking up in wheelchairs to play squash. I put that in my application. So Sport Wales, with respect, have that, because that's what we've ultimately delivered. But one piece of advice I would actually give to other clubs is, once you've secured funding, go to secure more. Whenever things are going well in a club, don't think they're going well. Look to carry on doing things. Make your changing rooms better, make your courts better, make the lighting better, make the heating better. And we've had two
adaptions. We've had the disabled toilets fitted.
Adaptions. The Millennium Stadium Charitable Trust have given us 2 grants. Massively thankful to them for doing it. But again, part of that was for the disability facilities we got. So keep on looking for funding. Keep on pushing the boundaries of your own squash club.
I've noticed as well, like feedback. Like one of the things I said was the front door, the ramp at the front door. Next thing you know, we have a ramp. So feedback's also quite important as well, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Bob Perry.
Yeah, that's right. I think he actually laid it,
with
didn't
his
he?
trowel straight away, didn't he?
what can I say? Do you know what I mean? Most people put steps in the way to stop me getting in.
There are plans there.
yeah, just a trench. Well, I can use crutches now, mate. So.
Yeah, but my vision at the start, when we started wheelchair squash, was to get 4 wheelchair players there so we could play each other.
Yeah.
No, you've got up and started doing on your calipers.
Oh, I kind of blown the dream.
Down, you've set it back quite a bit, like. So.
Sorry, mate. I'll
nobble your knees next time.
I'll remember that on my next doctor's appointment. I can't improve anymore because I'm ruining the wheelchair squash fund.
I'll see you on court on Thursday.
Yeah, we should have a game actually in chairs. I haven't had a game. I haven't been in a chair for ages playing squash.
I think the fact that we are showcasing disability squash and racquetball game before the final of the PSA is absolutely huge. That's we've been asked to do that, and I think the people who come along to watch the 2 professional players battle it out for thousands of dollars will be able to see you pair beforehand. What more could they want?
Well, can I say? Yeah, I mean, I thought you were talking about the 2 professionals. I thought that's me.
Seriously?
What more could they want?
Wow. Yeah.
Before the start of the PSA final as well, I'm going to be playing Ollie Griffiths in wheelchairs because Ollie set me a challenge at Christmas that he could beat me in a wheelchair. He could beat me standing up normally, and he just thinks he can beat me, and I'm going to prove him wrong. And we're going to have a bit of a bucket collection for Jamie's charity, which is...
Oh, man, I knew you were going to do this to me. I'm not 100% sure at the moment. I'll have a think about that, but I think... don't know. I want it to be something that is fundamental. I think we should promote that out, and I will get that all over social media. But I'd like to see a charity that is fundamental. I support a lot of charities, as you know, but I would really like to see that money go to a local charity that helps with people, especially people with like autism and stuff like that, using it to promote disability sports. That's where I'd like to see the money go to. So the actual name of the charity, I'm not 100% sure, but I think there's scope there that it goes to a great cause that uses sport to help, because I know it's changed my life and I'd like to see it change others.
Good man.
That's all I've got on that.
It's fine. It's plenty.
Richard, plenty.
Don't you think, Rich? We're talking about squash in Wales and how squash in Wales is booming. So, Rich, I'd really like to ask you about this. Really.
Which one?
The man, the Murphy man.
The Murphy.
Yeah, the Murphy. Is that a thing?
The Mr. Murph.
You said Murph, so it rolls off the tongue better. What are your thoughts on where Wales is versus England at the moment, and how can we capitalise on that? To make more people play squash in Wales. What are your thoughts?
Well, I think that's been part of Squash Wales' strategy over the past 15 years. It's very difficult for us as a small nation with dwindling courts. As Jamie mentioned, I think it's actually gone down below 250, maybe 230, 240 courts in the whole of the nation, where England has 9,000.
Yep, they're the most in the world, aren't they, England?
They do, so there's a lot more money in English squash. They're obviously a lot bigger population, but Wales have always punched above their weight with the people I mentioned earlier on, Alex Goff and Dave Evans and Adrian in particular, but now we've got Joel Makin, Tesney Evans, Peter Creed, we've got some good youngsters coming up. It will always be difficult for us, I think there's no doubt about that, but squash in Wales, at grassroots level, is still going on. It does face a struggle between junior squash and masters squash. There's a big gap in terms of people who are 19 and the people who are 35. That's an area of concern, I think. But Squash Wales are encouraging more lady members. We're obviously very proactive in that. At Rhiwbina as well. And I think Squash Wales have just got to keep at it really in terms of that grassroots participation in schools. I know they've got a big schools program. It would be good to think that there were more people coming into squash now.
So Rhiwbina at the moment is hosting the PSA event for the second time, yeah?
For the third time.
Third time.
Yes, it's been 2 amazing years. The weather's been beautiful for the 2 years we've held it. It's been world-class squash, tremendous squash.
And how many Welshies have we got competing this time?
We've got, again, a fair selection. Where our highest ranked player, Peter Creed, is in from Rhiwbina. We have Elliot Morris-Devred from Cardiff, we have Emyr Evans, and we have Owain Taylor. So we've got 4 Welsh players in there.
So, I just want to quickly jump in.
No Lewis on a wild card, no?
No Lewis this year.
I just want to quickly jump in. So we pre-record the Squash Pod. So this show will, by the time people are listening to the show,
we'll be well into it.
We'll be well into the competition. So this goes out on the day of the final. Am I right?
That's right. Saturday the 11th of May. 4 p.m. is the final.
Fantastic.
3 p.m. to disabled.
Yeah, the real final. Oh, Bentley the Beagle is...
Bentley's having a little shake.
Having a little shake.
I got a mate in Bristol who tunes in specifically for that.
What, Bentley the Beagle?
Yeah, he texted me to say... I said, I heard Bentley shake. Literally, that's all he tunes in for. He can't stand squash, but he listens just for Bentley's shakes. But you don't want him in the room, do you?
Don't say it like that, man, because you make me sound bad.
He banishes him.
Right, okay. Sometimes I do, mainly because, like, Bentley, he trashes the mic, and then I've got to edit it, and it's just really hard work, and I don't like hard work, and it's like,
You're a control freak. That's
and
what
I'm a
it is.
control freak, yeah. But
He's
I love Bentley.
He's been well behaved here.
What I really like is when you go, bang, and he rolls over. I love that. Right, so
where were we?
I don't know, I've lost track.
Generally, I've forgotten where we were. End of the Rhiwbina event.
Yep, so that's where we were. So this show will be going live the morning of. So if you're listening, it's 10 a.m. because obviously everyone queues up to listen to the show. So it's 10 a.m. on the 11th. We'll be on court. Myself and Richard will be on court doing the demonstrations at 3. And the final is at...
I'll be introducing the players at 10 to 4.
10 to 4.
So we're doing a call out, yeah? For the still tickets left for the finals?
Well, possibly not, because obviously they may sell out at that point. But at this point of recording, yes.
Yes, but that's no good to people listening now.
No, so it makes it a little bit more difficult. So go online. Go online and find out.
Or just turn up at the event on the day. We'll find room to squeeze you in, and there's a free buffet after.
Oh, no one said there was food.
No, we weren't going to tell you.
Chuck a couple of beers in and I'm there.
I don't call you Jamie the Hoover for nothing.
Oh, man.
Bentley's invited.
Yeah, he'd probably get the food before me. And if my girlfriend was listening, let me tell you, so would the chickens. I have to fight the chickens for food half the time. So listen, I think that's kind of tying that up. Have you got anything else, mate?
No, not at all. We other than maybe a little bit of squash news. We've got a couple of events coming up soon. We've got the David Lloyd Open coming up, haven't we, Rich? We've got Lantrissan Open coming up soon. Yes. We've got to do a shout out for the Ross. I'm not sure how you pronounce it. Ross Sketchia for the gentleman who passed away. His daughter did a fantastic event along with Stuart Divery at Lanarkshire. Did a great job organising that. One of the only tournaments where they've. Well, what's Bentley up to?
Bentley's gone mental. He's brought his bone in. He's gone nuts.
Sorry about that. He's actually all the money raised went to charity, which is I don't know if that's ever not been done before, but
Bentley shakes. This is why
Val.
Bentley
There you go, Val. You listening to that, Val? Nice. So a little bit of news there, but otherwise, we're good. Good show.
Awesome. On to the next section.
Match ball.
And it's the final section of the show, so match point, guys. This is where we just kind of summarise everything. So I know for me, Rich, it's an absolute honour having it's an absolute honour having you on the show. You've been a massive support, like I said, friend and mentor to me. So I want to thank you gracefully for coming on the show.
Thanks for having us.
And Bentley is also thanking you with a sneeze and a grunt. And Richard Murphy, mate, absolute legend. I mean, I feel privileged to allow you to come and sit next to me.
Well, that's very good of you. I'm not going to reduce my appearance fee just because you talk me up, man. But thank you for the
Mate, we pushed the budget out for you guys, can I just
Yeah.
point out? Do you know
Rich
what I mean?
is wearing the nicest shirt ever as well.
It is, yeah,
Yeah.
it's blue.
What colour would you say that is?
Aqua. I'll go with aqua. I think we'll do a selfie and we'll put it on social media of his aqua shirt. No,
Didn't
brilliant.
realise we had to dress up for radio.
Yeah.
You're also wearing an aqua shirt. Isn't it funny
Everyone
how
will see
we're
that.
both in pink and they're both in aqua?
Yeah.
Well, when you pulled the curtains here on, I always get a bit worried.
Yeah, might need a little bit of knowledge on that. So what we do, guys, when we record, we just pull the curtains too, so that basically everyone else doesn't wonder what we're doing. And Bentley barks at people walking past because he has a point to say. So, Connor, Bev, any final notes?
No, not at all, mate. You've got it all covered. It's all good.
Richard, plenty.
No, I'm good. Unless you want to ask anything else, Jamie, you probably will.
Nah, not that I can ask on air. Richard Murph.
Huge thanks to you both. Keep up the good work on the Squash Pod.
Fantastic.
Thanks
You guys
very
got
much,
anything you
guys.
want to punt?
PSA final.
PSA final,
Buffet.
buffet, food.
Champions League final.
Ah,
Come on,
Spurs
you
gonna
Spurs.
make it. Come on.
I tell you what, I'm going to edit that out. I said no
Don't you dare.
football on the Squash Pod.
Don't you
I'm
dare.
editing that out. Thank you guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And
Nice one.
Thanks,
to everyone else, take care and have a great time. Well, that's it, ladies and gentlemen. That's the end of the show. I hope you enjoyed Squash Pod, and please join us next time. Thank you very much.